Good morning, scholars. Today is Wednesday. Remember, we don't have any live Zooms today. Yesterday we talked about kings and queens, so we are going to continue on with that. Today we are going to talk about the royal family. All right, so let's take a look at this picture. This is King George V and his family. Most kings and queens wanted to make sure they had lots of children, and they made sure those children understood what it meant to be part of the royal family. Being a prince or princess had both advantages and disadvantages. Advantages means that there are good things about being in a royal family. Disadvantages means just the opposite, which means that they're not so good things about being in the royal family. This picture shows King George V of England, the Queen, and 4 of their sons. So we see King George, his wife, and the 4 sons. As you can see, children in the royal family got to wear fancy clothing. They lived with their parents in the palace, which gave them plenty of space to run and play. Fine furniture and other beautiful things always surrounded them. For many kings and queens, having children was not just a matter of wanting to raise a family. In fact, children were the key to the future prosperity and success of the kingdom. Children were important to the wealth and good fortune of a kingdom. But why were children so important? So think about, why do you think children might be so important? Once a person became king, he usually remained king for the rest of his life. The period of time during which he ruled was called a king's reign. Not rain like that falls from the sky, but like when someone reigns over something, it kind of means that they rule over it. The same is true for a queen who sits on the throne. What's a king's or queen's reign? Is this the kind of rain we are talking about when we say it's raining outside? No. And when that king died, his reign ended, and one of the children from the royal family became the new ruler. When you inherit something, it means that someone else, usually a relative, gives you something that once belonged to them. Often, when a person dies, their property, the things they own, including their belongings and money, are passed on to a family member, who then inherited these things. This is what happened in kingdoms when the ruling king or queen died. Their power, the right to sit on the throne and wear the crown, was passed on to someone else in the family. Royal families always wanted children, so the power to rule the kingdom stayed in their family. If there were no children, sometimes the power to rule the kingdom went to a different family. Someone inherits something is called an heir. That's H-E-I-R, not like the air that we breathe outside, but the heir is something that someone inherits. In a kingdom, princess and princesses were heirs to the throne because they were to inherit the throne. The oldest son, the one most likely to be the heir of the throne, is called the crown prince. When we are talking about the crown prince as the heir to the throne, are we talking about someone who becomes the king, or are we talking about the air we breathe? So are we talking about someone that takes the power and the right to sit on the throne, or are we talking about what we breathe outside? He is called the crown prince because he is the next person to wear the king's crown and rule the kingdom. If there is no son, the oldest daughter is called the crown princess because she will be the next person to wear the crown and rule the kingdom. Remember that the crown is a symbol of power, and whoever wears it is in charge. This photograph shows King George V of England, the Queen, and the four of their sons. The oldest of sons is the Crown Prince, because he will be the next king. The adults treat him with great respect. Even though he is only a teenager, people hold doors for him and bow to him because he has the important status of being the next king. He has grown up having people serve him and tell him that he is very, very important. This is a picture of a palace in a country called Morocco. Inside this big, beautiful palace lives a crown prince named Moulay Hassan. He lives with his father, mother, and little sister. His father is the king of Morocco. Moulay was born in 2003 and is the oldest son of the king. Moulay will be the next king of Morocco because he is the oldest son and the crown prince of Morocco. The crown prince or princess is a very important member of the royal family, and he or she receives special education and extra special care in order to someday rule the kingdom. But what happens to the other prince and princesses, those who are not the oldest or heirs to the throne? Kings and queens often arrange marriages for their children. This meant that princes and princesses usually did not get to choose whom they were going to marry. Their parents decided for them. This was because marriage was used as a way to form a partnership between two kingdoms, or a way for two kingdoms to rule together as a team. When a prince or princess married someone from another kingdom, as in this picture of a wedding between a princess from England and a prince from Germany, it was an important event. All the most and powerful people from those two kingdoms were invited because it was meant that those kingdoms were going to be friends in the future. There were definitely advantages to being a member of the royal family, especially for those who like living in palaces and wearing nice clothes. But being a prince or princess wasn't all fun and games. Some disadvantages included that they didn't always get to do whatever they wanted, especially when it came to whom they would marry. Often anything they did was watched and commented on by others. Everything they did reflected on the kingdom and the royal family, and they had to be very careful to behave in a royal manner at all times. All right, friends, I hope we learned a little bit more about the royal family and different things that go on in the royal family. So we will see you tomorrow. Goodbye, friends.